I've been told many times during the last few days that there are very special expectations of my speech here today. Supposedly, or so I have heard, some expect my speech to pave the way for a fundamental reform of the European architecture, which will satisfy all kinds of alleged or actual British wishes. I'm afraid they are in for a disappointment. I've also heard that others are expecting the exact opposite and are hoping that I will deliver the clear and simple message here in London that the rest of Europe is not prepared to pay almost any price to keep Britain in the European Union. I'm afraid these hopes will be dashed too.
Merkel has been called a traitor by a crowd of nationalists who booed her for her pro-migrant policies. The incident happened during a visit to a town near Dresden where violent anti-refugee protests had taken place over the weekend. Angela Merkel's come under fire for a previous silence on the issue. Indeed, the hashtag #SilentMerkels emerged on Twitter, mocking the Chancellor's inaction as aggression towards newcomers is growing. Now, while the government's been slammed for inaction, many Germans, meantime, are making sure their views are heard at least. The week started with rival protests in Berlin between, on one side, pro-migrant demonstrators and on the other, nationalists from the anti-Islamic Pegida group. There was also a suspected arson attack. We brought you this story yesterday on a secondary school being used to house refugees. That's just outside Berlin. Let's bring in Dr. Werner Patzer. Now, he's chair of political systems and comparative politics at the Dresden University of Technology, joining us live on the line. Hi there. Is Angela Merkel getting this all wrong? Is she really tackling the migrant crisis all wrong, or is she simply doing the best she can in a very difficult situation? What are your thoughts?
Well, certainly Chancellor Merkel is in a difficult situation, and usually she tries to do her very best. The basic problem is that Germany has taken a very passive stance towards immigration for many years, if not decades, and that now the numbers of immigrants are just overwhelming. We've had more than 400,000 in the last year. We expect some 800,000 this year. The number will not decrease during the next years, presumably. Therefore, many German citizens are afraid of the consequences of this unregulated immigration, and they are angry with top politicians and those responsible for this situation because they feel that the political class is leading Germany in a situation which it can no longer accept, and therefore we have a domestic polarization between those who feel that the current policies could be going on without being changed, and other ones who really want to see a policy change.
Well, on a practical level, Germany just announced something they plans to simplify the asylum application process for people fleeing the Syrian war, at least. Is that going to significantly help the problem?
Well, it will significantly help the problem if the procedures in the course of which the authorities find out whether somebody is entitled to stay in Germany are speeded up. And one way of doing so is to set up a list of countries out of which everybody can come to Germany if he claims to be a refugee. And the complementary action would be to set up a list of countries out of which nobody seems to be entitled to come to Germany. But the follow-up problem would be, or the follow-up challenge would be, to get those persons who are not entitled to stay in Germany out of the country. At present days, some 60% of those who have no right to stay in Germany nevertheless stay in Germany. And therefore, the political elite, our government, has still a lot of work to do.
Germany's refugee policies have really shaken Angela Merkel's reputation. Now she's getting increasing criticism, not just from voters, but also from fellow politicians.
right. It certainly sounds like the Chancellor has had a change of heart over the last few months. We all know the praise that she got for welcoming so many displaced people, while people were on the other side sounding an alarm that there needed to be caution built into it. Now it sounds like she is toughening on that and saying, I'm not going to have a repeat of that influx again.
Well, she obviously is reaping the results of what she has sowed. And she can no longer hide behind or cover the effect like what they did in New Year's Eve in Cologne, where they tried to underplay that it wasn't refugees because they did not want to alienate the German public. Today, with the internet and cable television, the German government can no longer hide that this is actually driven by Islamic refugees that they have imported into the country. And right now, the German people know for a fact that their government put them in danger and actually threw some of them out of their homes in order to put refugees in their homes. So Angela Merkel knows she is in trouble and she needs to turn around really fast if she wants to be reelected.
Larry, is it fair those who are coming forward to say they're calling these, quote, Merkel's dead, these people who lost their lives at the Christmas market, dozens more injured? Is it fair to say that? Is it overstating it?
Well, I think it is. We don't even know who did it. We don't know if this person was a refugee or whether he or she was born in the country. It's just like the massacre we had down in Orlando. That was a Native American. We've got terrorism all the time. The young man who was just convicted of going into an African-American church and killing people. Terrorism is a tactic. You're not going to get rid of it.
But ISIS doesn't come forward and claim responsibility for things like the horrific, tragic Charleston shooting. But they do encourage these kinds of vehicular attacks. In their own magazine in November 2016, that's what they called for. And now they've taken credit for this.
Well, there's no doubt about that feeds into their narrative. And what they're doing is, because we're beating them, we've killed something like 50,000 of them in the Middle East. They're going into these other areas to show they're still relevant and to attract more recruits. But remember, was this a lone wolf? Was this for somebody who was reading the magazine, or did they train them? You have people get inspired by all kinds of things to do these things. But something Merkel said that you didn't show, she said, we can't give in to the fear, because if we do, they win. And they had information about these Christmas markets. They were warned something might happen. Why they didn't do it, I don't know.
Well, Brigitte, we know that there are cities all over the world, including New York City. I've seen a very heavy presence on the streets here. You know, they do what they can, but short of shutting down our Western way of life, you know, how do we avoid innocent people getting caught up in attacks like this? When does it stop?
Well, at this time, the radicals are feeling empowered. They are not stopping, because now they are able to carry their own jihad, basically sitting in front of the internet, learning how to put a bomb under your mother's kitchen, or how to use a machete to basically kill people, or how to drive a truck into a busy market. And as a matter of fact, the market in Germany, they had barricaded the street. He went around the barricade and over the sidewalk in order to kill people. So it is becoming very challenging to detect these things. But this is where the American public and public in general plays a major role in being vigilant, in keeping their eyes open on someone acting suspiciously, somebody fidgeting, somebody who's about to carry something. You can tell the tail signs when somebody's looking around because they're afraid, or they are worried, or they're about to do something. If somebody's taking pictures of doors or cameras around buildings, places where tourists usually don't take pictures. This is just some tips that the people, and in particular the American public, especially here in America right now watching us, can do to be able to keep their eyes open. On our website, actforamerica.org, we have a program called Open Eyes Save Lives. I encourage people to go there to learn more tips on what to look out for and how they can protect themselves if something happens, if an attack happens this Christmas.
Yeah, well, we know the State Department warned Americans against traveling in certain areas. Those alerts have not gone away, and it seems like they're heightened this holiday season more than ever. Larry and Brigitte, thank you both.
Welcome back. My final tipping point tonight, 12 people are dead. At least 48 people injured in Berlin. A truck plowed into the Christmas market there, purposely crushing people at the holiday event. There were rivers of blood, witnesses said. People were sucked underneath the wheels of the lorry. The world is in shock, Germany's in mourning, and the blood is on Angela Merkel's hands. This has gone too far. 1 million migrants, probably more, Merkel invited into Germany. We don't know the official count. No vetting. Germany couldn't pick 1 out of 10 and tell us who they are. German intelligence ignores ties to radical Islam, and we're told it's Islamophobic to expect the migrants to abide by German law. Instead, child marriages among Muslim migrants are tolerated. It's sickening. This does not happen by accident. This is a result of policy constructed by the steward of the nation, Chancellor Angela Merkel. With this open door, let them all in, let's be one big happy family, just ignore the terrorists, monstrosity of a policy, she put her people in danger. I don't care if Angela Merkel was trying to reimagine German identity in the eyes of the world. I don't care if she was trying to rewrite history or compensate for the Holocaust or pay it forward with kindness so people wouldn't think of Nazis when they think of German history. She put her people in danger. Just look at the past year. New Year's Eve 2015, hundreds of sexual assaults in Cologne, 24 rapes. The perpetrators? Muslim migrants. July 18th, 2016, a 17-year-old Afghan refugee attacks train passengers with an axe and a knife, wounding 4 people. July 22nd, 2016, an 18-year-old German-Iranian gunman killed 9 people in Munich. 2 days later, July 24th, 2016, a 21-year-old Syrian refugee arrested for killing a pregnant woman and wounding 2 other people with a machete. On that same day, a Syrian refugee detonated himself, injuring 15 people. Now, you're right, I don't want to jump to conclusions about the Berlin attack here. We don't know who the attacker was, yet. We don't know his motives, except mass destruction and murder. We don't know if he was a refugee or a migrant or an old white German man. The authorities tell us a Tunisian man is the suspect. He's an asylum seeker who was arrested earlier this year for forged documents, but he was let go. He had ties to a radical Islamist network that recruits people to join ISIS and head to Syria to commit jihad, but he was let go. Because, you know, in Angela Merkel's Germany, that's not enough. Even if the killer wasn't a refugee, allowing refugees in without vetting is leading to a hotbed of radical Islamic terror. The very environment in Germany breeds these attacks, and the blood is on Merkel's hand. She's going to lose the election anyway next year. After all this violence, she should just go ahead and resign now.
So we protect Germany. Germany is a behemoth, an economic behemoth. It's being destroyed by what Merkel has done there, what she has done to Germany. I have friends from Germany. They're leaving Germany. They are leaving Germany. These are people who were so proud a year ago of being German people. They were so proud. They used to brag. I said, are you still proud? Not so proud. They're leaving Germany. They're moving to other countries. What she's done, I don't know what happened to her. I thought she was a terrific leader. And I don't know, maybe she got carried away with herself. I don't know. Like tremendous crime. You look at Sweden the other night. Did you see what happened in Sweden the other night? Sweden doesn't have crime. They're going around. It's a disaster. You look at Brussels. I was in Brussels 20 years ago. Brussels, beautiful Brussels. It's like an armed camp. They had to cancel New Year's Eve because of horrible, horrible threats of massive crime. We have to get smart, folks, and we can't be so politically correct. Oh, that's not a nice thing to say. That's not nice.